The voice of sharing, 旅人的香。
So today I am back with some fresh news from all over Southeast Asia this morning. But before that, just going back a little bit in history today. Back in 1940, on the 4th of August, World War II, Italy began their invasion of the British Somaliland. And Somaliland is, of course, the present-day Somalia, which for much of its existence, its territory was bordered by the Italian Somaliland, French Somaliland, and as well as Ethiopia. And from 1940 to 41, it was occupied by the Italians and was even part of the Italian East Africa. And in 2007, the former deputy director of the Chilean secret police, Raul Iturriaga, was captured after having been on the run following a conviction for kidnapping. And also some Olympic updates before the news. England is still at the top spot now with 58 gold medals, 59 silver, and 57 bronze, with a total of 174 medals in total. And Australia has 137 medals in total. And in third place, we have Canada with 82 medals. And Malaysia is at the 12th place today with a collective of 19 medals so far. We have 6 gold medals, 7 silver medals, and another 6 bronze medals. And we are just one step behind Singapore, who has 17 medals, and we are just short of 2 to keep up. So I hope we will get there soon. And also another fun fact about the Commonwealth this year, which is held at Glasgow 2014, will also have the highest number of parasport medals in the Commonwealth history. And uniquely, these para events are staged concurrently throughout the Games. And much like the Olympic torch relay, there is the Queen's baton relay, which travels 190,000 kilometers to visit all 70 nations of the Commonwealth Game before touring the host nation before the Games. And the Scotland leg will see 4,000 baton bearers travel 4,000 kilometers through 400 towns and cities in 40 days. And the final day of the relay will be the starting of the ceremony. And finally, for many athletes, the Commonwealth Games will be the culmination of 4 years of hard work and will be a very special career highlight, much like the Olympic Games. So moving on to our ASEAN breakfast call this morning, we're starting with news, an update on MH17, where it was reported by The Sun that only 62 bodies have been found in complete state so far, and 62 out of the 226 bodies of MH17 that belonged to the Malaysians was recovered from the crash site in Ukraine and were in good and complete state. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Khalid Abu Bakar said today that the authorities believe there are more mangled remains and body parts scattered over an area of 15 square feet kilometers surrounding the crash site at Donetsk that are yet to be retrieved. He said it was unfortunate that search efforts for the rest of the bodies was hampered by security and other safety issues. There is still a lot of work to be done, and we are really hoping to reach the crash site and get help from local villagers to locate the whereabouts of these missing bodies and body parts, said Khalid, who is currently in Kiev to oversee and head a Malaysian team of investigators. He said that although he was confident with the experts tasked to investigate the crash, the probe was a tedious process and its completion was indefinite, which I couldn't agree more. I can only imagine with the civil war between the Ukrainian civilians and also the pro-Russians that's going on right now, and with other teams that are there as well. I think Netherlands and Australia have also sent their teams over for investigation, and it's also been a while since the crash happened, and also a lot of other factors like the speed at which the bodies fell out of the plane, the explosion, the exposure uh, that has been occurring for the last couple of weeks. It would definitely affect the way the affect the process of searching for the bodies. But it is a good start. At least they have recovered 62 bodies, and they still have more than 100 to go. And I hope they find it soon enough, because the families are impatiently waiting at home to find out what really happened. And another disaster that happened in southwest China, where there was a major earthquake and 175 people were found dead. And in addition to that, another 1,400 were injured after this strong earthquake hit southwest China's mountainous Yunnan province today, bringing homes crashing to the ground and sparking a massive relief operation. So far we have 175 people killed and 181 people missing, the official news agency Xinhua reported. And the United States Geological Survey USGS reported the quake at a magnitude of 6.1, and that's higher than what hit Myanmar just last week. And he also said that it struck at a relatively shallow depth of 10 kilometers at 4:30 p.m. And too many buildings were damaged, and Xinhua reported that they are still collecting data on death and injuries, according to local official Chen Kuo-yong, essaying in the township of Longtushan, which sits at the epicenter. State television broadcast footage of people running from their homes and gathering in the streets as witnesses described the devastation on social networks. Moving to Malaysia, now we have finally some warning about the Ebola outbreak that's been happening. The precautionary measures to avert an outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus disease in the country has been put in place by the health ministry following the outbreak as following the World Health Organization's recent warning that if the outbreak continues to deteriorate, the consequences can be catastrophic. And the move comes in the wake of West Africa's outbreak caused by the most lethal strain in the family of Ebola viruses. And the outbreak is the largest ever in the nearly 4-decade history of this disease. It is the largest in terms of numbers, with 1,323 cases and 722 deaths reported so far in 4 different countries. And our health minister, Dato S. Subramaniam, said the ministry has activated its crisis response nationwide, including screening of passengers at all international entry points. And our National Crisis Preparedness and Response Center, which is the CPRC, will be the focal point in coordinating all the activities, and also for hospitals and clinics to report any suspected Ebola cases, he added. And the hospitals and clinics are also fully equipped with personal protecting equipment for the medical staff. So Arlene's just joined us. So we finally have a warning from the Malaysian government regarding the Ebola virus here in Malaysia. We are being told to take some precautions.
First of all, I want to say hi, good morning. Today is a very fine Monday morning. Regarding on the Ebola virus, I'm glad that Malaysia and also a few other Southeast Asian countries have taken very serious precaution on this virus, because the problem is the way it infects others is not visible. There's no sign of it until like a few weeks later you realize that you have Ebola, and you might probably be in a very critical condition, because the rate of survival for the Ebola virus, especially the deadliest one that you were referring earlier, is only 68%. The 68% is the death rate if you contracted it. But the survival rate will probably be less than 20%.
And also, like we discussed last week, the symptoms are actually very simple. It's just it can be a hiccup, it can be a headache, it's can be a cough, a sneeze, something that kind of happens to you every day and you don't give it much thought. Like, oh, I'm just down with another cough, and like you mentioned, we don't like all of a sudden you're just like, oh, okay, I suddenly have Ebola, and it's so easily contractable as well, like as reported to the World Health Organization here.
And the condition when you have already you have Ebola, you usually the survival rate will be so low that usually they would isolate you in the isolation unit. And I saw pictures of patients of Ebola, of victims of Ebola virus. Apparently there are boils all over their skin, under their skin. So it's a pretty horrible condition to consider it.
And according to WHO, more than 60 healthcare workers have died of the disease while actually helping the patients.
Including 2 prominent doctors and another one prominent doctor from the US, which is the first case from the US that a US citizen was being contracted with the Ebola virus.
Yeah, that's right. And he was the reason that there is a massive panic in the United States now, as per the news that I read earlier. And before this, they had no worries, but after he contracted the disease and went back there, and now everyone is so worried about contracting this contagious and also a very deadly disease.
In fact, CNN did a very in-depth focus on that, especially after one of its citizens got into contracted the virus. Anyway, moving on to the Indonesia's democratic success. I am actually quite impressed with Indonesia's democratic processes. It's quiet, but at the same time, it proves that democracy still exists in Southeast Asia.
And also the issue I read about the open cabinet thing, which I'm not so sure about. Maybe you can shed more light on that.
Oh, which is pretty interesting that someone who is, I think who is quite novice when it comes to governing the nation. I mean, his background was pretty humble. He doesn't have any political training except for his stint as the mayor of Jakarta. But at the same time, I can't help but to admire him, for him to introduce such revolutionary processes in Southeast Asia. I mean, considering there's so many countries in Southeast Asia that either do not have a government or have dictator's government or have an authoritarian, one-party dominant government. But in the case of Indonesia, so Jokowi has introduced this system where the public has the right to sort of choose who should be part of the ministries within the executive. And what is even more interesting, that he made some really empowering comments, especially towards women. For example, I still remember I read somewhere that he said that he would prefer to have women as the head of the Ministry of Defense. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
And he also has this open cabinet thing where it's not based on who has been there before, who has done it, or even like choosing his close acquaintances or what. It's totally an open thing where anyone can be elected to be under that portfolio.
And I think all this revolutionary idea of trying to eliminate bureaucracy as well as trying to eliminate hierarchy within society, and I think eliminating representative government, as in you only get the people to choose the representative during the election. But what Jokowi is doing is not just within election that people has the right to choose whoever they want to lead the executive, but also within the formation of the government itself. So he's really trying to involve people in various stages of democratic means in from the election to the government to, I hope, in the future, in all other processes that needed consultation of the public.
And you posted a very interesting article about dynasty politics that's being practiced in Malaysia. I was really intrigued by that because we do have a lot of concerns about cronyism that's happening in Malaysia, where when it comes to probably choosing a minister, it always goes to like who I know best and who's my close friend.
And not, the worst thing is to choose someone who is part of your family member. And I think this one is pretty obvious in the situation of Malaysia, that a lot of Malaysian politicians are, coming from the same family, whether it's opposition or whether it's the current government's political party. It seems like the trend here is, where are the new layers of people that, politicians and leaders alike can raise them up and make sure that they are on par with everyone else in terms of the opportunity to lead, and not just create like a dynasty politics where you create this I would say like lineage of rulers within this elite circles.
And I mean that also kind of hampers the opportunity for let's say for laymen. Like in the case of Indonesia, like you mentioned earlier, Jokowi had no political training. He was from a humble background, but right now he is of course the president of Indonesia. But could that probably will never happen in Malaysia if we keep practicing. Did you come up with that term, dynasty politics? I feel like using
I'm
it
the
now.
first one to come there, but I think I heard it before somewhere.
Okay, so yeah, I guess if we keep practicing this dynasty politics, it will be very difficult for a layman who probably has brilliant ideas and for reform in this country to actually be the prime minister or be in any post that is substantial enough for him to make some changes in the country. And there have been more opportunities. We have, I think, a healthy competition.
Yeah, I mean,
or
it's a way to
rivalry.
create this aspiration that anyone can be a politician, as long as they care enough about the society, about the nation, and they want to improvise themselves to make sure that everyone have one vote, one right in terms of trying to create change in this in our society. And I think it's great that politicians create that aspiration, like people like you and me, which has no political link to anyone.
Right.
And I mean, we start up fresh, but because of our concern and our interest to sort of transform this country, I think having that sort of aspiration and opportunity to aspire is very important. And I think Jokowi is trying to create that sort of platform for the young generation of Indonesia.
Because also in the last election, I think it's not so much about that. There are a lot of people that said Jom Uba and Ini Kalila and all that, but
Or
I
in
think
terms of
sometimes-
the opposition's
yeah, that's right.
manifesto, and also.
But I mean, I think sometimes the government misunderstand us, because it's not that we want the opposition to be ruling Malaysia. We want to give chance to somebody new, just to see that what they can do instead for us. It's not that we are anti-government. We're not necessarily heading in that direction.
I think the one key idea that we need to put in mind is there's no one party that dominates the government. The government should be as neutral as possible. So whoever that is on in power, he should be the one rule over the country, but in a democratic way, of course. So in a way that I think either the opposition, or even an independent candidate, or the government themselves, if the people give the mandate to them, they need to perform their mandate. If they don't, I think other people would take over their seat, and I think that is the more healthier competition, and more, and it sort of like create this democratic atmosphere where everybody have trust in the government.
But isn't it interesting that we actually just choose the party, but we don't actually get to elect who we want as the prime minister of the country? Because as in the case of Indonesia, it was pretty clear that it was Jokowi versus Prabowo, or even in the US back then, it was pretty clear we had two candidates that people were rooting for. But in Malaysia, it's just about the party, and you kind of never know who's gonna end up
I
being
know.
the prime minister or the deputy prime
And the
minister.
unfortunate part is our system is pretty different. We follow the British Westminster system, which means we don't have a presidential election. The election is mainly electing of a member of parliament in office, and whoever that won the majority representative would form the government. But in the case of Indonesia would be different. They have elections from the lowest rank, which is I would say the election of Ketua Kampung or head of villages, to the highest rank, which is the presidential election. In fact, the election has been ongoing since a year ago. I would suppose, starting from the various district or kampung or village level. And I think that is really healthy in a way that people sort of understood this is what the way forward should be in terms of electing people to rule over who their country.
And moving on to a pretty sad news actually from Thailand about this surrogate mother who was paid by this Australian couple to have babies for them. And turns out that this lady had twins, but when this couple found out that one of the baby had Down syndrome, they just took one baby away and left the other baby with her, and now she is left to care for the baby and to raise funds for a surgery that the other twin that they left behind. And there have been a lot of outcry from the Australians and the Thai people, the same, that you cannot. First of all, you cannot do that to a pair of twins. You can't just take one away and leave one behind because he has Down syndrome or whatever it is. And then they also refuse to pay the full amount that they promised this lady because only one baby was kind of working for them.
Enlighten me about what is a surrogate mother, which means that the baby's DNA is purely from the
Australian couple.
Australian couple. She's just there to provide a space for the sperm as well as the egg to.
No. The Australian couple have already done that. They've got the egg and the sperm
together,
and fertilized it in a test tube, and then they just transfer implant that
inside
into,
her womb,
the surrogate mother, and then she just kind of carries the baby for 9 months, and then when it's out, she hands over.
Technically, it's not even the Thai mother's baby.
That's right.
It's the Australian couple's baby. So I don't know, but to me, it shows that they neglect their own child.
It is true, which is why there's been all this outcry. But the way they say it, they thought that the reason that the baby had Down syndrome was because of something that the Thai lady must have done wrong or eaten wrong during the pregnancy. They refused to take responsibility for it.
To me, this is a huge crisis of humanity in a way that, first of all, it's not even the Thai mother's baby. Second of all, like, where's the Australian authority? I mean, they should press charges against this couple from this Australian couple. And third of all, I think in some countries, the idea of having another woman to be the surrogate mom is actually illegal. And the reason for it is a very ethical reason, which is, what is happening right now. Like, once the mother conceived, whatever happened to the child, the original parent has to be responsible for it and not leave it to the surrogate mom.
The Australian government have been, because this boy needs a surgery for this congenital heart condition that he suffers, apart from his Down syndrome, and the Australians have raised an online campaign, and they have accumulated to $200,000 so far for the operation. But of course, that still, I think, doesn't do justice to this lady who was not supposed to have a baby at all because she was just carrying the baby. She just needed the money to pay her rent, pay her bills and all. It was not her intention to to have a baby and to start caring for it, start to even raise a kid that was supposed to be solely for this Australian couple. And also, it says that the baby's parents knew he was disabled at 4 months, but did not actually inform her when the agency asked her, at the parents' request, to abort the disabled fetus.
Mm. So in a way that but what the Australian government or the Australian authority has done towards the Australian couple, have they pressed charges on them?
I haven't found anything about the government, but I do know that there have been an outcry from the Thai officials and also the women. I'm not sure if it's the women rights or the human rights activists who have spoken against this, because it seems that it's actually something that happened a lot. A lot of Australian couples contact these agencies in Bangkok to have surrogate mothers.
Mm-hmm.
And so this person was saying that, if you don't want to be responsible for the baby, next time just don't pay people to have your baby, because now this lady is left with the baby.
Yeah,
and
there's
she
a
has to
huge
go
ethical
through.
question that
That's right.
that's not being answered. And I watched a documentary about surrogate mom. Interestingly, surrogate mother is a carrier among those women from very poor country. And in this case, I saw surrogate mothers from, I think, India. They actually, the agency actually make it into like a factory meal for these Indian mothers to give birth every year. I think one time a year, to a baby boy or girl for these foreigners, and I think it's really, really, I'm against it if it's unethical the way it is conducted, because to me is you cannot treat the giving birth of a baby as in like it is a factory sort of like production meal. I don't think that it's supposed to work that way. So that is why I'm against. But I do agree that if the original parents and also the surrogate mother have certain kind of contract or agreement between both of them, and both of them treat each other in a way that is respectful towards both of them and as well as the baby, and I think I would agree in that kind of way of
And
conduct.
like you said earlier, I hope the Australian government also does something about it.
At least
and
create a code of
press,
conduct, like
mhm.
at least make it more ethical in terms of these surrogate moms.
And also to protect the rights of those Thai lady who will be carrying the babies of these surrogate parents. And yeah, I think that's all the time that we have for this morning. That will be all for our news session this morning. And we'll be back in a bit for our Blast from the Grassroots. And of course, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And what can they do if they want to subscribe to our newsletter or know about our weekly topics?
Of course, they can subscribe to durenasian@gmail.com. And if they want to know more about us and our live podcast, they can always go to our website at www.durenasian.com, or they can always download a TuneIn app and listen it via their mobile phone.
All right, so this is Gowri signing off.
This is Arlene as well, signing off.